morning, everybody. Jeanette Anderson here with the Bodacity Show, and I'm here with a fabulous panel of experts that are here to support us with creating financial literacy and financial liberation. I actually realized after I posted all this that I shouldn't have just called it literacy, because that's kind of boring, but I should have called it literacy and liberation, because with more information comes more freedom, which is part of why I really wanted to create this panel of experts, because I know a lot of women who are very smart about money and wanted to bring them to you so that we can have a frank and honest discussion about money, wealth, prosperity, and living both on purpose and profitably. So welcome, ladies. I'm very happy you're here from all over North America, and congratulations on getting here. And so far, so good as far as the tech. Woohoo! I can actually see all of you. I'm so excited. All right, so I'm not going to introduce them each with a full bio, but their full bios will be in the chat underneath this recording. So please do read them and find out more about them. But I'm going to just go across my screen, starting with Kate, and then Heather, and then Amy, and then Candy, and then Deborah, and give you a brief idea of who they are. So they're just going to tell you who they are, what they do, who they do it for, and of course, because I'm the why whisperer, why it's so important to them. Why does this matter to you? So we'll start with Kate. Kick us off.
Okay, I am Kate with Total Wealth, and I'm going to start with the why I do what I do. And there's two reasons. One was hearing a statistic years ago that the average woman in the United States, and hello, I know some of you are Canadians, was retiring on $1,300 a month. And I thought that is not enough. But the other why that I do what I do is because I have been through my own financial storms. And so my work, a lot of it is around unshaming people and looking at what we can do from a mindset perspective to eliminate our self-sabotage and move people forward. And so many, there's so much mind stuff around money that impacts us that, I used to do financial literacy, but I found that teaching people about money, that information was not enough, that they needed transformation, a lot of which happens in how we think and feel about money.
Beautiful. I totally agree. There's a lot of mind stuff around that. And that's part of why I want to have this conversation, so that we can really start to get it out of here and have a conversation around it and know that we're not alone in a lot of those beliefs and start to see what works and what doesn't. All right, Heather, how about you?
Well, I resonate a lot with what you just said, but myself, I've also been through the journeys. I gave my power away financially. I was in a nasty marriage for 25 years. I'm in a great one now. Woo woo, got married this summer to an amazing man. But I am an accountant, a CPA. I've worked as a financial advisor. I have all this knowledge. And why I do it is I can't stop myself. I've always helped people. I learn voracious. My appetite for learning is voracious. And all my issues that I've had are all the things that people need help with, like the money management and controlling and stepping up and being you and saying, it doesn't matter if everybody doesn't like me. I am a fairy. I bring magic to finances. And if you don't like that, I'm not your girl. Go to somebody else who's not going to be a little bit wacky, because I am who I am. And I have taken over 50 years, although I'm 35, to say that out loud. Granted, I only figured out I was a fairy like 2015. But anyway, I have been through the journey. The mindset, oh my gosh, the productivity, like getting past all that, getting myself in gear. Jeanette was my coach. She can talk to you about how much it was hard to get me in gear. But that's what I do. I help people. And yeah, that's why I'm a natural born teacher. I can't stop. I help random people. So I get paid for it now.
Okay, awesome. All right. And Amy, Amy Yu because she has a last name I can't say.
I know, it's crazy. So my name is Amy Eichlicht, Amy Yu for short. I am very passionate about people's financial health and well-being, and it's so important that we realize that there's more to money than numbers. And I really empower women to go on a financial healing journey. My why is so big. I was widowed really young, 3 kids, recently separated now. And I know the storms, like you've said, Kate, the storms of financial life, but I really know that it starts with healing on the inside of the wounds and the traumas that we face. And a lot of times it has nothing to do with money. So becoming financially whole starts from within. And so I embark on that journey.
All right. Love it.
Thank you.
Kathy, how about you?
Well, I say that I'm a profitability advisor, and I work with entrepreneurs really to take away the overwhelm from them, from the financial aspects of their business that they generally have to do and don't want to. Many times they're actually scared of what they're supposed to be doing because you're dealing with government agencies and they're afraid they're going to be doing it wrong. So we give them peace of mind by taking care of the things in the business they have to and let them do the parts of business they love. My why is because so many business owners wear tons of hats, right? 10, 15, 20 hats, right, in their business. And they don't always understand everything they have to do and when they have to file things. And if they don't do it on time, they're going to end up with huge penalties and interest. And I want to help them avoid that. And there are so many businesses that fail. I really want to help businesses succeed from the beginning so that they don't end up in those challenges and then have to close their business.
Okay, awesome. Love that. And love that we have some people with financial backgrounds of all different kinds as well. So Deborah, tell us about you.
Well, I am a financial coach for women age 60 and wiser, and this follows 42 years of active boots on the ground, money management, financial planning, fiduciary for 21 years. For high net worth clients. And my why is that I care passionately about women being able to afford the goods and services in their later years, because if we're lucky, there will be later years. The longevity charts suggest that a healthy woman age 65 has a 50% chance of living beyond age 88, a 25% chance of living beyond age 94. And I'm asking the question, is your money going to last as long as you do? So the big why for me is giving women the tools so that their investments actually match their needs now and into the future. And we'll talk more about that in a minute.
Absolutely. In fact, I'm going to come right back to you about that. And for those of you who don't know, I'm Jeanette Anderson, and I am the founder of Bodacity.ca. My why is that I want people to get that they matter and live like they do. And that grew out of an incident that I had when I was a child, when I begged my mom for the book Heidi, and she turned around and yelled at me, "We can't afford it." But it wasn't that she said that, because I heard that a lot growing up. It was the look of shame and anger and frustration on her face, the absolute despair. And I remember, even though I was only just before 5, I remember that look and deciding that I never wanted to see that look on another woman's face or another person's face. And so that motivated me to become an entrepreneur in order to solve those issues. So, in a kid's mind, problem, no money, solution, go get money. So of course you got to have a business. So I had my very first business when I was 5 at a garage sale, and I made the money to buy the book, by the way. My mom didn't quite see it that way, so there was a little trauma around that. It wasn't exactly a very good financial first endeavor, and I kind of learned early, be very careful about going into business with family. But the real lesson was that yes, business and having your own business can be a way to take your financial destiny in your hands. And I also have really been on the other side of that. I've been a financial planner for 2.5 years, and I still don't know much about money. I'm still not as good a steward of my money as I want to be. And I still have concerns, like Deborah mentioned, around whether my money will last as long as I will. So let's come right back to that before we launch into a general topic about women and money. But Deborah, why do you target mature women as your audience? Because, you mentioned the statistics around us lasting. I know that not everybody here is 60 and wiser. there's only a couple of us, but really want to know, for those of the women who are on here who are 60 and wiser or getting there, why do you target those women?
Well, great question. And being in practice as many decades as I would take in a whole bunch of people, single women, divorced women, married women, regardless. And they did not have the training or the education, if you will, about the other R word about the stock market. You know what? They had a mountain full of media blasts about the risks of the stock market, but they had never been given the memo that risk is the currency for reward. Literally, I had a widow come to me in practice. I was fee only. She said, you can buy a CD anywhere, right? Everywhere. I said, yes, of course. She hands me over this $1 million death proceeds check. She's 58. She says, I want you to buy me 10 $100,000 CDs, get the best rate at wherever. And I pushed it right back across and I said, no, I won't do that because that would be malpractice. Now you'll find a broker on every corner that'll do that. I won't do that because I have a fiduciary duty to ensure within the best of my ability that what you send ahead, the money, the tool that you send ahead actually does the job of buying goods and services. Then now, I'm old enough to remember when banks were starting to, promote you to bring your $2,000 to your IRA with them. And if you invested $2,000 every year and you get a toaster and everything, and they're all happy and saying, and you'll have $1 million by your 59 and a half. And I wanted to say, what's bread going to cost? Because if bread's going to cost $1,001,001, that's not for me. So I remember nickel ice cream cones. I paid twice as much money for my car at age 22 as my parents paid for their house. So if you think this in short-term inflation blip is a blip, and it is a blip, but if you think inflation is going away, we differ. And so I want to bring women's confidence up about the rewards of the stock market. So I'll go one step further. April was Financial Literacy Month. I might have been the only CFP out there saying that 30% more emphasis of women's interest is on financial confidence. Imagine if you had squishy brakes in your car and you go to your mechanic, Mike, my brakes are squishy. And he comes out to you with this compendium of auto mechanics. I'd be ready to pop him. Like, no, it's the brakes, right? I don't have time to be sent back to the library, and mature women do not have time for compounding to work for them as much as younger women. And that's where my passion lies, because if they've been sidelined, I need to get them back on the on-ramp to the road to their financial security and success and meeting their goals and having fun. Let's talk about that. The tool called money, sooner rather than later.
If only you had a little bit of passion about this topic.
I know.
It's really too bad that this doesn't light you up, Deborah. All right. Brilliant answer. Thank you so much. All right. I'd like to hear from all of you. What do you think is one of the biggest mistakes that women, let's jump right into the deep end here. What is one of the biggest mistakes that women make when it comes to their finances and or their money or their wealth? And I'll start up with Kate and we'll just go across. So what's the biggest mistake that women make with their money or their finances or their wealth in your experience so far?
Well, Deborah is right that we tend to save but not invest. And I would say, I would even go a step kind of before that and say that I think the biggest issue is that women don't educate themselves about money. We allow ourselves to be sold to, you were just talking about the brakes, like you go to the mechanic and whatever the mechanic tells you, you're kind of like, okay, yeah, that sounds about right. And so we don't feel empowered. That most women don't understand, asset classes or, compounding interest or any of these things. I know I'm also the mindset gal, but I don't think we can separate that from understanding the financial basics. And then I think the mindset piece comes in, because I find that women won't learn about money, or if they do learn, they won't take action on the information until they kind of pull the weeds out, like what is it that stops people from taking action. But definitely we don't empower ourselves over money. As a matter of fact, the cultural conversations are very disempowering. Oh, if you're a woman, you're going to make 70 cents on the dollar, or, you're going to be the victim of this or that. And I'm not denying that women have had a lot of disadvantages, but I would ask, do those conversations really serve us? Do they empower us? And how do we move beyond those conversations? And it involves with, taking back our power, learning, taking action, etc.
All right. I hear you. And yes, it also means that we have to do more with less, because the reality is that most women do earn less. So yes, we need to shift that, but we also need to get real smart about doing what we can with what we have too. All right, Heather, how about you? What do you think?
I think I am so proud of Deborah for doing what she's doing and telling people that term deposits and that stuff suck. Yes. The inflation is always higher than the interest offered. You will not be ahead with that whatsoever. Thank you for saying that, Deborah. My thing that I would like to say, because I know everybody's going to be contributing, and I think this is one that most people won't think of. I spoke with a woman once who was, she told me after she spoke to me, like 15 minutes later, she made a phone call she'd been putting off for 2 years to find out how much she had in an investment. And all I said to her was, it's not all about the money. You're preparing for retirement, but yeah, you didn't invest in your accounts, like your bank accounts and investments, as much as you could have, but you invested in your education. You're a yoga teacher. I forget what else she was, but she had ways to make money. Women are creative. That's our main thing, right? Like we think outside the box. We all have experience. Doesn't matter. You are a housewife. Great. Somebody else wants to know how to do that. You stay at home mom. How'd you make out? Did you educate your kids at home? There's other people that want to know how to do that. And as long as you are a functioning human being, you can make money that will supplement your income. Stop thinking retirement is about stopping working. It's not. Retirement is about stopping working at something you don't like. Now is the time to think, what brings me joy? What lights me up? And how can I make money doing it? Because if you're good at something, anything, there are people out there. There's 7 billion people on this planet. There are enough people out there who will pay you to learn what you know, or pay you for the quilts that you make, or the extra plants from your garden. There's so many ways to supplement your income. And I wanted to bring that up because I thought that was going to be the overlooked one.
Awesome. All right. Thank you. And Amy, what's your
I'm
take?
excited about this one. One thing that I wish I would have known sooner and that women would understand is that our emotions are in the driver's seat to all of our decisions, including our finances. And in order to get good with money, we need to get good with emotions.
Awesome. I love that. All right. That's very true. Okay. And we're going to come back to some mindset and emotional mastery tips around this and around this topic. All right. And Candy.
I think one of the things as women, our issue is we don't always stand in confidence for our value, and we don't negotiate really. So whether it's a job that you're applying for and they're saying, okay, this is what we're going to pay you, women will just say, okay, right? Where a man will negotiate that often. And in business, we may present a proposal to someone and they'll say, oh, well, that's kind of expensive. And instead of just saying like, oh, well, it is, but the value you're going to get is, and just staying at that price, then a lot of times we'll say like, oh, okay. And then the price gets reduced, and not standing really in confidence for the value that you offer. And we all are valuable and we all deserve that price. And of course, there are some things now that people are a little concerned about with inflation and price changing, and maybe you need to change things a little bit, but realizing that someone might think that something is expensive, and then you can actually say, okay, then I may not be the best fit for you either, right? And then they may end up saying, okay, well, and then just paying you, no problem.
Mm-hmm. I've had that happen multiple times where I stood my ground and the person said, okay. Because whenever they bring up a price objection, it's usually that there's a value mismatch or non-clarity about value, either in your mind or theirs or both. So yeah, great point. All right, Deborah.
Well, I would love for women to drop the perfectionism around money and investing. It's killing us. And so I am a huge proponent of forgiving ourselves past missteps. Most people would say, oh, I made this big mistake. I can't tell you the number of women that came in and said, I made this big mistake. I say, okay, so tell me about it. I have my pen there. They say, I did that and I did that and I did that. I said, okay, you did that and you did that and you did that. What else? No, that was it. Wait, you did that and you did that and you did that and that's it. We're good. We're golden. They sat up in the table. They got closer to their ears perked up. It is the first time they were honored, right? They were pretty vulnerable by saying they made a mistake. And I want us to talk about missteps. And that connotes movement, right? How did the Great Recession happen in 2008-9? Money flow stopped. Women ought to understand the movement and cycles, the importance of this continuous motion. So if Warren Buffett, one of the finest stock pickers of our day, can admit to at least $3 billion, that would be with a B, mistakes, who are you to hold yourself out that you didn't do things perfectly? And that's just as in your face as I am. I gave a TEDx talk about it. Feel the financial fear and do it anyway. And it is high time, because I was interviewed on CNN across from Stuart Varney, and he said, what's your best financial asset? And I was just like one of those moments, like, God, give me an answer. Because like, what do you say, right? I know he wanted me to say a stock or a mutual fund, a piece of real estate. And I said, Stuart, I have 2 assets in life. Now remind yourself, the Chiron, Deborah Morrison's, I have 2 assets in life, time and health. I buried multi-millionaires. They would have given groups of zeros for more time, another dance, another picnic and fishing trip and baseball game. So if we get as was said earlier, our minds readjusted towards the tool called money is going to buy what? What is our why? What is everyone's why? Some of it requires money and some of it doesn't. Let's get it down and let's tick it off, much like we do a grocery list. It's literally that simple. If we plan, when we plan, we produce, and it puts a smile on our face. And I love that.
Can I add another one, Jeanette?
Yeah, absolutely.
Where a lot of women go wrong is, and it's not that they're going wrong, it's where they need a bit of help and education, is that if you have a financial advisor or accountant who you don't understand what they're talking about, a lot of women will not, and try to act like they know what they're talking about. Now, it could be that the advisor and accountant don't realize you don't know, and they could explain it a different way. You need to speak up. It is okay that you don't know everything. These people I trained for years to learn all these things. And the words come like second nature to us because I've been hearing these words myself for over 30 years, right? We don't mean to ever speak over your head. If you don't understand, ask.
Yeah.
If they are not willing to explain, if they make you feel small, or you still don't understand, it's time for a different accountant or advisor. Because there are great ones out there like Deborah, like me, like a lot of us here, but there's also some really crappy ones out there, and the old boys network is dying out, which is good. There are lots of young blood and a lot of women coming into the profession, and you can find people who are good. It is not you. Please never don't think you should know the answers, and don't feel like a fool because you don't.
Right. Absolutely. Amen. All right. So let's talk about that, because the combination of the two things you both just mentioned, many women feel like they've made mistakes, like they don't have enough set aside. There's generally quite a bit of panic about upcoming inflation and so forth and so on, but also just not having enough. So wherever they're at, what would your piece of advice be about, I'm behind and I'm scared? So, or I'm not set up well enough and I'm scared. What would your advice be? So I'll start with Amy just to mix it up here.
Yeah, so I would always refer to them to kind of go back to the R's, where we're going to recognize what the emotion is that we're feeling, reflect about where is it coming from, what could be underneath it, what's the lie that we're believing, rebuke it, and then refrain it, and then reposition yourself with empowerment to do better. And so a lot of this does take compassion, though, and for ourselves to know that, you know what, sometimes we don't always know, but when you don't know, you learn, and when you learn, you do better. And, you know, Maya Angelou has that beautiful quote, know better, do better. But I think we really need to look back and just say, you know, we do life through 4 lenses of what we were told, what we learned, what we experienced. And from that, we formulate our belief system, whether it's true or not. And then we operate our money and our patterns from that standpoint. So we really have to dismantle some of that. And that's why I like those R's. So it is, we're looking at, oh my goodness, I'm drawing a blank, my R's. Recognize, reflect, yeah, rebuke, reframe, and reposition yourself.
All right. I love that. Anybody else want to add anything in terms of, if I'm scared, where do I go or what do I do? I fucked it
The
all
only
up.
thing I was thinking of, if I could just pop in there real quick too, is a lot of times we forget all of the expenses that we have coming out of our bank, especially when you put things on like auto pay. So taking the time to really go through everything that you're spending every month and look and see, is that a want? Is it a need? Is it necessary? Is there something less expensive that I can do? And that can also help. And then putting some money, if you're able to reduce something too, maybe putting that additional amount into savings. So you start building up a rainy day fund. And so when those emergencies happen, you have cash available and you don't have to depend on a credit card, high interest, you know, all of those things that kind of compound on each other.
Absolutely. All right, Deborah, did you want to add
Yes.
something? Yeah.
I love what's been said. And I am an advocate of controlling what we can control. Like I'll be on a plane, like right beside a person, they'll say, what did you do when I was in practice? And I said, oh, where are interest rates going? I mean, why don't we just talk about the beige book? I mean, this doesn't matter about your financial freedom or not. I mean, where are interest rates going? They'll go up and they'll go down and they'll go up and they'll go down. How about we control what we're spending money on? How about we align what we're spending on with our values? And the way to do that is to write it out and face it. That takes a lot of courage. And so if we can be hand holders to our women advisees, if you will, or men as well, and say, write it down. I'm not going to come along as a Catholic nun and wrap your knuckles with the ruler. I don't care what you're spending. I want you to know what you're spending. I had a guy come in, throw his last cigarette pack on my desk. This had to be 30 years ago. And he goes, I'm done smoking. And I said, great, Rick. He goes, yeah, I found out how much it was costing me. This was before they were like $12 a pack or whatever they are. And I was happy. And that happens again and again. So it's an exercise in our aligning. We women are contextual thinkers, not like our male counterparts who are content. We like to say, how does this relate with that? How does that affect this? What domino is this one decision going to hit? We understand that as women. We have that neuron chit chat that the male brain does not. Let's use it. So let's start with controlling what we can control. We can control what we spend. We can control what we make in large part. Oh, I'm a salaried person. Guess what? So is the Uber driver I took last month to the airport. So there are so many ways to pick up money now. Clean out your house if you didn't do it during the pandemic and sell it on eBay. So these are aspects that we can control if we're interested in doing the action. And I say start small. Little wins beget little wins, beget bigger wins, beget bigger wins. It's a compounding of wins, is it not? So I say pay attention to your money and it will pay you back.
All right. Love that. Okay. Yeah. Real quickly, Heather.
Yeah. In addition, for what she said, because that's basically stuff I teach too. And it's first, before writing it down is separate, one exercise, but another exercise is writing down what is important to you. Like I like to come at it from the point of view of you're at the end of your life, you're happy, you're ready to go. Why? What did you accomplish that makes you ready to go? What is it? What did you do? What did you see? And if you approach it from that happy ending thing, then you're going to see, oh, well, I must have done this and I must have done that. And then when you write all the money out, is all that stuff aligned with the big goals? Or are you working on tiny things to get the endorphin rush, short term, that's costing you the big goals? That's all.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Okay, well, let's talk about, for our entrepreneurial sisters or business women that are watching this. One of you mentioned earlier about inflations and financial uncertainty ahead due to all the COVID backlash and expenses, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Should we lower our rates? What should we be doing in our business? Because often the reaction in times of uncertainty is to turtle or is to contract. So Kate, what would you say to that in terms of what should people do with their rates, with how we're charging, what we're charging right now? What would you say?
I'm gonna relate this to the last conversation, the last question, which was about financial stress and worries, and how do we manage that, and how we have to recognize our patterns. And one of the patterns sometimes is to avoid, to go unconscious. It's uncomfortable. We stick our head in the sand. When I started coaching about money, I was shocked that there were multimillionaires that were hiring me. That was not who I perceived was the financially stressed. And I learned through that experience that financial stress can operate really similarly, just all along the spectrum, because there are emotional things that happen. And so managing that stress and being able to separate the reality versus our response to the reality. So the reality is how much money's coming in, how much money's going out. The response is, oh my God, and what I found is that sometimes people who are perfectly fine still have the, oh my God, the sky is falling response, because we're surrounded by that, especially when we go into recessionary environments, especially when maybe we can look at the statistics and, the money supply and the savings rate and these things, and we can see that money is tightening. And so the first thing we need to do is ascertain what the reality is. Some businesses won't be impacted at all. It depends on who your clientele is. When we had, 2020 was a very tense year with the pandemic, yacht sales were up, so in 2020. So yeah. Whereas there were, restaurants were, completely kneecapped. So we need to look at the reality of what is going on. Who are our clients? Maybe how you're doing things works. Maybe you need to make some changes. But first, we need to understand what the numbers are. And if we feel like avoiding, we need to give ourselves lots of self-love and compassion and maybe a little extra chocolate. And then we need to go sit down and look at those numbers and come up with something that makes sense. For some people, it may make sense to maybe move from, one-on-one to group work that's a little more affordable. For other people, it may be, it could even be raising your prices, but I think, and there was a study recently done with Harvard around positioning and making sure that you are seen as essential, because when money tightens up in a recession, and thankfully we just got, I think, some good GDP numbers that indicate that maybe we're not in a recession yet, or we've been teetering on the edge for sure. But but positioning yourself as essential. So you may want to go look at your marketing messaging, and we need to be doubling down on lead generation, on communicating with our clients, because even if we do experience a slowdown, it is the people who are persistent through the tough times who come out sailing on top when, when the money, the movement of money is increasing. So whatever you do, it's not putting the head in the sand. It's looking at the reality, taking care of yourself, so that you can make logical decisions and move forward based on the facts.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
not on the fear.
Absolutely. Well, and I love one of the things you said is that we need to see ourselves as essential and position ourselves that way. But I think that really starts with getting that you are essential. You're not a nice to have, unless you are, in which case, then you may have to shift your business model. But when we get that we're essential and we have value and that people need that value no matter what, then we can stand in our value when we're selling, because they're actually, especially like as a business coach, people need me more when they're constrained and when they're struggling and when times are tough and so forth. So you're right. It's actually a time to increase the effort, perhaps the pricing, but certainly your conviction that you matter and that you are important right now. Candy, what would you say? Should I decrease my fees to retain customers during a recession?
That's a lot of times where we're thinking, we need to, again, to keep our customers. But again, what you're doing is reducing what your value is perceived by your customer, and you're training them, that when things get a little bit tougher, they're just going to reduce the prices, right? And so there's other things you can do besides reduce the price. Maybe you can offer an incentive. If they pay like more upfront, they get like an extra little bonus, or maybe you talk about the scope and you change the scope. If they really need to have a lower price, then we have to change what we're offering you, so don't just say, okay, well, I know things are tougher, so I'm just going to lower the price right now to keep those customers, because you want to maintain your value. And if they tell someone else about your service, you want to be able to charge, that higher value and not have them expect a lower fee as well, right? And so I think, again, like a lot of people said, it comes to mindset. A lot of times we're afraid, like, oh, we're going to lose customers if we don't. But often the customers who are at the lower end are also the ones that take much more of your time. And so they're less profitable clients anyway.
Absolutely. All right, let's talk a little bit about getting money in, because we've talked about really retaining our position and our value and sales and so forth. Let's talk about money in. Should we borrow money from loved ones for cash infusion? What are some alternatives to just selling stuff, selling our services? What are, should we get venture capital? And if so, when? Like what kind, where should we be at? What's the state of grants and so on right now? So one of the things that I know, I just missed this brilliant opportunity. I had this application half filled out. It was super simple. Bank of Montreal was funding female-run businesses with $20,000 and $10,000 grants, not loans. And it was the super simple application. And I filled it out halfway, and then I forgot, and the deadline passed for the second half, and I'm sure I would have got it. So there's a lot of stimulus right now because they're trying to get everybody back to work. What would you say in terms of cash injections? What are some alternative ways to create revenue besides just selling our products or services? What should we do? What shouldn't we do? Anybody?
I'm going to say add another stream of income. And when I mentioned, perhaps doing group work, I'm not saying stop doing the one-on-one work. I'm saying look and see what you can add to add that extra stream of income. I used to be a full-time financial writer for an advisor and thought leader. And one day I made a proposal to her and I said, there's a lot of other advisors who would who shared her philosophy. They're approaching me. They want me to write for them as well. And I don't want to be tied to a computer. 12 hours a day writing for 5 different clients because she was pretty full-time, the work with her. So I said, what if we white label these articles and the special reports and we license them to other advisors? And we created a 6-figure business that took very little time from either of us. It was her. It was the content I had created, and I had to go back and do a little bit of work, and we had to have a membership site, and then it was her contacts, her relationships. And so, when we look at the different forms of capital, we can get creative in looking at what is it that you already have. It may be intellectual property. It may be something you can package and offer in another way. And so yeah, I think expanding streams of income is the number one way that I would suggest.
All right. And anybody else, what would you say as far as ways to generate revenue?
I would say that you honestly need to go meditate and check in with yourself. And because when you're in that good spot where you're actually connected, that's when ideas will flow to you. And those are the inspired ideas. And when you take inspired action, it's easy. If you're just trying to push, it's not easy because it's not necessarily the right time, the right thing. You intrinsically, we all know, we have the knowledge inside of us. And if we check in and actually check on that, you can ask yourself, is it okay to borrow money from this person or to approach there? And usually you don't want to put a strain on your family. I mean, there's various situations. You need to check inward first. And secondly, check the government websites, check the local women's groups, because they know there is somebody who knows where all the grants are hidden, and they will tell you.
Yeah.
That's the second thing you would do.
Yes, absolutely. There are lots and lots of sources of money available. We just don't go look. And one of the things, we're running out a little time, so just going to finish this up quickly. One of the things that men do very well is use other people's money to make money. Mm-hmm. We don't tend to do that as much. All right. And so take a look for what are some ways that could happen. And one of the other mindset things, and I know I struggle with this myself, is incremental growth. We just bargain for crumbs and grow ourselves incrementally versus taking that risk, like Deborah was talking about earlier, grabbing ourselves by the ovaries and going for it and making bigger, bolder leaps, like getting an injection of capital or whatever that may be, because we kind of think small, so we play small. So that's another piece of that mindset and dealing with that, but also dealing with, like Amy said, dealing with our fears, being aware of what they are and how they're pushing us to limit ourselves, and choose to tell a better story, choose to get support for telling those better stories. All right, we're almost out of time, amazingly. So before we run out of time, let's hear, you each have some wonderful gifts for people. So tell us about that very quickly and what we can, so what's the title of it? What will it do for them? And where can they get that? What is the URL for going and downloading that gift? All right, so I'll start with Deborah. Deborah, what's yours?
Well, thank you. And of course, I'm going back on something I said earlier about missteps, and I've just come to this missteps in the last year. So my product was created before that, and it's called 10 Mistakes Women Over 50 Make and How to Avoid Them. And you can get that on my website, Women Navigating Finances, plural.com /10 mistakes.
Okay, so say the URL one more time. I'm typing as we talk.
Women Navigating Finances.com /10 mistakes, mistakes.
All right.
This will give us some touch points as to various areas of financial planning. So we kind of get myopic about investing, and of course it's risk management and everything else. So the little checkpoint as to various areas so that you can kind of get an idea, oh, I should prioritize this first and then that, rather than myopia on any one facet of your financial plan.
Love it. And I'm assuming they can find out more about you at womennavigatingfinances.com.
Yes, and I have a website. I have a Facebook page, Women Navigating Finances. Team at Women Navigating Finances is my E. So shoot me an email and let's talk.
All right. Awesome. Candy, how about you?
Sure. My freebie is a guide to financial lingo. So I explain a lot of the terms, like Heather was saying earlier, a lot of times we understand, but a lot of people don't. So I give a definition of all the different things that are used usually in business, and talking about the difference between cash flow and profit. A lot of people get confused on those. So that can be found at affordable bookkeeping and payroll.com/free-report.
Payroll.com/free report.
Free-report.
Dash report. Okay. There we go. Awesome. All right. And how about you, Amy?
I have created a financial health scorecard to allow women to take inventory as to where they are, so we can build out a plan as to where they'd like to go and really focus on certain things. And so they can find that financial health scorecard at www.youinsureinc.ca/scorecard. So youinsureinc.ca/scorecard. And of course, you can find me on Instagram or at my website or LinkedIn.
All right. Cool. All right. And how about you, Heather?
Okay, well, if you're trying to find me, you search Heather C. Abbott, because there's a different Heather Abbott, but you stick the C in there and you'll find me. My gift actually is something that we were telling you need to do. You need to get clear on your numbers. I have a system that gets you amazing clarity. It's easy, but what I've done is I've made it so everybody can access it. So there is a small booklet that you can get. You can go to my website. It's HC Abbott. I'm making a new one. So HC Abbott, that's ABBOTT.ca. HC Abbott.ca. Go to the bottom of the page and it's there. It's called 3 Steps to Financial Clarity. You need to print it. Well, you don't need to print the whole thing. You need to print the last 3 pages. It is an actual actionable version of my course. And if you do this, you will be on my mailing list and you will know I am launching a course. I would really rather you sign up through Jeanette after, because it takes you through this. And I am actually doing it. I should say giving it away, because it's 95% off.
All right. So we'll get you details about that coming up.
That will come later. You can get that from Jeanette. Right now, you can get the booklet.
All right. And how about you? Just a second. Hang on. I'm still typing first. Okay. All right, Kate, how about you?
I've got a special report called 10 Things Women Need to Know About Money. And it lays out some of the challenges, but also it's going to update your map because there's some research in there that we don't hear enough about some of the advantages that women have now. And, you know, whether it's we're getting most of the college degrees, you look at, there was a study done of younger women who have a very different mindset than some of us who are a little older, showing that in 12 major cities, this was US cities, that women are actually out earning their young male counterparts. Some really interesting research from LinkedIn as well. That's a special report, 10 Things Women Need to Know About Money. You'll get some great clarity from that. And that is at women.gr8, women. The letter G, the letter R, the number 8, women.great, you might say, .com. And I can be found, I'm pretty active on Facebook. I'm on Instagram, Total Wealth Kate. And you will find me, a good place to get a hold of me is email, which is kate@totalwealthcoaching.com, kate@totalwealthcoaching.com.
Awesome. Love that. Okay, ladies, there's so many more topics we could talk about and would love to, everything from what do you need to do to take care of your books properly? And how do we stop avoiding money and topics? And what do you do to manage your fears around this? There's so many things, but this is why I brought these people to you, so you could reach out to them, to connect with them directly, do the work that we need to do, so that, the purpose and profit sisterhood is about the and. It's not about you live in sacrifice and be a martyr to your purpose and you have to give and give and give and not be rewarded for that. It's about profiting yourself and others with the work that you do and the gifts that you contribute. So let's wrap up. What's one final word of wisdom you have for everybody in this topic area? What's one final piece of advice you would have for them? All right, so I'll start with you, Kate, and I'll just go across again.
I'm going to say unshame yourself around money. And I think I'm piggybacking on something Deborah said earlier, but shame is the enemy of your wealth. So wherever you are in the perfect starting place, and money can be a path for learning rather than the obstacle in your way.
Beautiful. Thank you. All right, Heather.
I would say it's not all about the money. Nobody wants money. They only want what money will get them. Remember that you need to get clear on what matters to you. What is it that you are trying to get the money for? Yes, okay, maybe it's for food and shelter, but there's nothing that anybody ever wants other than they think they will feel better if they have it. So what are your big wants? Get clear on them. Also get clear on your numbers, and then align the two.
Beautiful. Thank you. Amy.
Financial wholeness leads to finishing well financially, but it starts within. And it's a choice. We've talked about this. It's a choice.
Absolutely. Say that again. It was a powerful line.
Financial wholeness leads to finishing well financially, but it does start within, and it is a choice.
Absolutely. All right. And Candy.
Mine is actually keep your business and personal separate. Have a business bank account, have a personal bank account. If needed, you could, borrow from yourself. And obviously you could pay yourself from the business, but don't intermingle all of that together.
Very practical. Love that. All right, Deborah.
Well, my dear late friend, Dr. Susan Jeffers, authored several New York Times bestsellers. My favorite, Feel the Fear and Do It Anyway. And she defines intuition as the scout that has gone ahead and then comes back and says, hey, around this corner, there's that and that. And so that's why I named my company Women Navigating Finances. And so I'm all about our wealth being much more than this. It is our health. We often spend our first half of our life earning this, kind of ruining our health, and then the second half of our life using this to kind of regain that which we lost in terms of our health. So to the earlier points, it's not all about money. It is about the fullness of it. And so I say I've done that, going ahead as a scout, 42 years of experience. I suspect you're not going to bring something new to my table or any one of our panelists' table. Women often don't know who to trust. And so they've been sold a lot of high commissionable products. So I'm a complete advocate, and it's my trademark and my business umbrella. We can do it, women. Yes, we can.
Beautiful. And on that lovely note, we can do it. And part of the thing with any kind of success is to call in support, especially for those areas where we don't feel strong, confident, knowledgeable, in command. This is not about trying to figure it all out. Yes, it's good to get a book. Yes, it's good to take a course, but it's really good to take action. And most of the time for that, we need support. Because if you would have taken action, you already would have. If you had it within you right now, when people say, well, I just need to, I automatically know they're not going to do it.
Mhm.
So if you're sitting there saying, yes, I just need to go do that, and I just need, call in support. One of these brilliant, beautiful women, someone that you know, to get you into action. Because action begets clarity, not the other way around, my friends. So I wish you great wealth, great prosperity, and a great sense of profiting both yourself and other people. Educate yourself, do the things to deal with those emotional components, like Amy said, the mindset things that Kate was talking about. Really going within, like Heather talked about, trusting our own knowing, getting the expertise and the help and the support with the practical components of your business, like Candy was talking about, and really owning your power of starting where you are, like Deborah advocated several times very beautifully. So start now. Let's get going. Let's get prosperous. Let's get powerful. It's up to us to make the changes that we want to see in the world. So let's do that, starting with our money and our prosperity. Thank you all, ladies, for being here and for sharing your expertise, your passion, your willingness, your heart. Every one of you brings so much excitement about this area that other people just want to poke their eyes out with a fork about. And so it's so good that we have you in the world, because that makes it so much easier for those of us who not so much with this, even though I was a financial planner. Anyways, thank you for being here. We appreciate you. Have a wonderful day, everybody, and go take one action step now, right now, after this call, before you go pee. Go take one action step right now about your money. All right, and starting with downloading all these brilliant gifts. All right, take care, everybody. Bye-bye for now.